Let's talk Merrimack. I'm your host for today, Jen McGinnis. A little bit about me. I've lived in Merrimack for 16 years, and my husband and I are raising our 2 boys here. One is in the middle school and one is at the upper L, and both really enjoy MYA soccer. The goal of this show is to talk about things that concern Merrimack residents and to encourage you to get involved in the town. Today's show focuses on voting. I'm joined today by Fran Ferrari and Joanne Emis from the League of Women Voters. Fran, could you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, I've moved to Merrimack and New Hampshire 5 years ago during COVID, and I was active in the League of Women Voters back in Pennsylvania, where I came from, so I joined the League and became involved there. And I have a son and 2 granddaughters who live in Salem, New Hampshire. That's what brought me to New Hampshire.
Great. Joanne, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm a native New Englander. Lived in Maine, grew up in Maine, lived in Massachusetts. Went out to Colorado and came back to Nashua and Hollis, and now I am in Milford. I have a daughter who lives in the Bronx and 2 granddaughters who are 22 and 25. I wish we saw them more, but we don't. I joined the League about 12 years ago, and we've been meeting during COVID. We met over Zoom, and we're hoping to get back as active as we used to be. Right now we have a forum planned for the Board of Education, and we've been active in doing forums for, like, the aldermen, and this is in Nashua, aldermen, which there are 9 wards there, so that 27. It was an experience, but we enjoyed it.
Great, thank you. Thank you both. Let's start with the basics today. What should someone who's never voted before know about the process of getting registered?
Well, New Hampshire has some different rules than other states. You are allowed to register on the day of election at your polling place. With the regulations the way they are, I don't advise that. I advise you to go to your town clerk and register ahead of time, because there are strict documentation that are needed, and you want to make sure you have them all before the election day. So if you go in to register and you're missing something, you still have opportunities to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What kind of documents do you need to register to vote?
It is, you need something to tell what your age is. You need something to tell your identity, something to tell where you live, and this is new, something to especially tell what your tell if you're a citizen.
Okay, so age, identity, residency, and citizenship.
Yes.
Okay. And so, for someone who hasn't voted in years, what would you suggest they do before heading to the polls this year?
Well, I would say,
Go ahead.
I would say you'll probably have to re-register, because if you haven't voted for a certain amount of time, they take you off the voter rolls, and so you'll go to your town hall, or on the day of election you can go to the polling place and register. But we, like Fran said, really recommend that you go early, because there are these new requirements.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So town hall seems like the best place to check if you're registered.
Yes.
And you might as well bring the documents to re-register if you need to.
Correct.
And one thing that's important about going to the town hall is checking the hours that they're open, because my town, I live in Milford now, and there's only certain hours that the town clerk is working, and only a certain amount of time that I think it's one evening that she works. And so it never hurts to call ahead and find out.
So get on the phone. even if calling isn't your usual way
Yes.
of communicating.
I
for
don't
us
think they
younger
take
folks.
text.
So now for the 2025 update. What does a frequent voter need to know about recent changes to voting in New Hampshire?
If you have been a frequent voter, you know you need to have your photo ID. There's no longer a way for you to sign an affidavit and say, I am who I am on the rolls, and then bring your ID later. You will not be allowed to vote if you don't have your photo ID.
Okay, so no more provisional ballots with
Right?
an
No
affidavit.
provisional ballot. Correct.
Okay, you said it much better in clearer language. I tend to complicate things, but so definitely have a photo ID, and the other changes all apply to registration. Does that sound right?
Well, no, not just registration. There are some for the registration, but there's also some if you want to do an absentee ballot.
That's right.
They have fewer excuses for getting an absentee ballot. And your absentee ballot, you have to include a copy of your photo ID if you're mailing it in, or you have to have the application notarized.
Yeah.
Or you could just present your ID at the town clerk's with your absentee ballot.
Well, let's talk about that. So absentee voting is a way to vote when you can't get to the polls on Election Day. So how do you request an absentee ballot?
You can call or go in and ask.
At the town hall?
Yes.
But you have to have all of your documentation.
Okay,
Yes.
so make sure you're registered, bring photo ID, and head to town hall. Or you can call, and I think the requests now require identification as
Yep.
well.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And you need to, did you already say it? You need to have a copy of it. You have to go find
Well, that's a ballot. That's for
Oh,
the
I'm
ballot. You
sorry.
have to have
Yes,
a
the
copy of the
ballot.
photo ID when
Yeah.
you mail the ballot in.
Yep.
and a notarized signature.
Or-
a notarized signature, which
Great.
is,
Okay, so absentee voting you should do as early as you know you need to do absentee
Yes.
ballot voting, right?
Right. I mean, there may be times when you don't know far enough ahead of time.
Sure.
You may have
An emergency come up.
emergency come
Yeah.
up, or all of a sudden your job has sent you out of town and you didn't know that was coming.
Yep.
But as soon as you know you're going to meet the requirements for an absentee ballot, you should request it.
Yes, and you can review the requirements on the election website, which we'll talk about at the
Yes.
end of this. Great. So relevant to absentee voting, can college students who are away at school in another state vote in New Hampshire?
Yes, they should follow the same rules for absentee ballots. If they've already registered in New Hampshire before they went away to school, then all they have to do is request the ballot and then mail the ballot in with their copy of their photo ID
Okay.
or the notary. If they haven't, then they have to register, meet all of the requirements for registering.
Sure.
do they still require us, if we're voting absentee, to include the stamp? Do we have to stamp the return on the absentee?
What do you mean a stamp?
For
You know,
them
when
to
we
send
mail
you
it
back
in,
the
when we
ballot.
mail the ballot back in. Do you remember? It's been a while.
No, they do not go by the post office stamp.
Oh,
It has to be received by 5 o'clock on election day.
okay.
They don't go by the postmark.
Right. Not in New Hampshire. So a different question, college students from other states who are living and studying in New Hampshire might want to vote here. Is that something that they can do?
Yes.
They are allowed, but there's some caveats with that. If you are registering to vote in New Hampshire, you are saying New Hampshire is your legal address. And you have to have all of the documentation, if you're living on campus, something that shows your campus housing as proof of where you live. But that also means that in 60 days from when you move, you have to get a New Hampshire driver's license. Your out-of-state driver's license will no longer be valid.
Okay, so college students from out of state should know that choosing this as their domicile, as their primary residence, then means
Affects
that
other
they
things.
should get their license changed
Yeah,
as well.
and they should also check, it could affect their medical, because they now may be, what's in network or out of network with their insurance may change
Okay.
by
So
the
college
residency.
students should think hard about where they want to vote
Yeah.
based on where they think their primary residence is while they're here. Okay.
Yeah, the new law is meant to
Dissuade?
discourage out-of-state students from voting here.
Yes. Yes, without getting further into that, I agree. So we've established absentee voting, registering, and what you need on election day. Okay, and so people can check their voting location online.
Yes, and you
Yes.
need to check because you will not be allowed to vote at a different polling place. You will be turned away.
So another important thing, check that you're registered, but also check that you know where to vote, and then bring that photo ID.
And that, I was going to say, and that, if you've registered to vote in Merrimack, but you've changed your Merrimack address, double check to see what your current polling place is, because it may be different than where you were used to voting.
Yeah, so what should someone do once they've moved? Maybe they've moved from another town, or maybe they've just moved within Merrimack. What's the next step to make sure that your registration is up to date?
If
Go to
it's
the
a
town
new
clerk.
town, you have to re-register
Okay,
in that town.
so go to the town clerk.
Yep.
It seems like go to the town clerk is the answer to a lot of this.
Yes, it
Exactly.
is.
The town
So-
clerk's going to be
But
very busy.
find out the hours.
So check the hours and visit your town clerk.
In excuse me.
No, please.
In Nashua, where we meet, and where we had forums, have we had forums twice?
Yeah.
For the aldermen. There are 9 wards, and so it's important that people there in Nashua know their wards, and you can look on the city website. And what they do is they list all the streets in every ward. So you can just look up your street because you don't have to do the geography. List the street and it'll tell you what ward.
Great. And so in closing, we'll go over a few of these details on the screen, but in closing, what would you like a resident of Merrimack, the citizens of Merrimack, to know about voting? Do you have a...
First off, don't wait till election day to register. Get registered ahead of time so you have time to get any missing documents. If your name has changed, like, for example, if a woman's gotten married and now has her husband's name, but her birth certificate's still in her maiden name, you need to have your marriage certificate so that you can show the name change is legal. So there's a lot of things that are in this new law that you need to be aware of. So if you don't have a copy of your marriage certificate, get it now. Don't wait till it's close to the election.
Yeah.
Or your divorce certificate, because that could also change. You might have a driver's license and you got divorced, but you didn't change your name on your driver's license, so your photo ID doesn't match your legal name anymore. So don't wait till the last minute.
So New Hampshire really wants you to dot your I's, cross your T's, and bring as many documents as possible to prove you are who you say you are.
Correct.
Yep.
Mine
Any other
is short.
thoughts?
To vote in New Hampshire, you have to be a New Hampshire resident. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be 18 years or older, and you are exercising your constitutional right.
That's right. And so everyone has the constitutional right, and some might say the duty, responsibility to vote in our elections. So I think we have a little bit of information to show voters
Yes.
that shows where they can go for more information and outlines the kinds of documents that will work for their proof of age, residency, citizenship, and identity. Passport gets to 3 of those,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So if you have a passport, that's an awfully convenient
Easy.
document to bring with
Exactly.
you, along with some proof of residency. And there's a website on the sos.gov that will provide additional details specific to New Hampshire and divide out amongst the different towns
Yeah.
as well.
Could I
And
add
wait,
one more?
I was going to say,
Please,
wait till
Adnan.
October 1st to do that because the website is not going to be updated for the new rules until October 1st, which is when they kick in.
Okay, October 1st. If this airs before then, October 1st, 2025, make sure you're rechecking after that date. And Joanne?
Yeah, I wanted to say if anybody would like information about the League of Women Voters, they can go to lwvnh.org. And if they would like to read some of our literature, it is /publications. And what we've done is done some Know Your Elected Officials. We've done it for Nashua, I was going to say Merrimack.
Yep.
Nashua, Merrimack, Hollis, and Brookline. And we hope to do more. But it's important for people to know who they can call or who they can email.
That's fantastic.
Thank
yes. And so, in addition to voting, we can talk to our elected officials as well
Exactly.
in between elections. Great. Well, if does anyone have any other closing thoughts, or does that about cover
I'm
it?
fine.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. Well, that was our show for today. You can reach Let's Talk Merrimack at talkmerrimack@gmail.com. And if you have ideas for shows or thoughts about what you're seeing, by all means, reach out. And I look forward to our next conversation.